Hey, how's it going out there today, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great day. Coming to you from a very dimly lit, very early in the morning Freightliner Cascadia. It's weekly recap time. If you guys don't know about weekly recap, I try to do one of these every week. I'm about 2 weeks behind steadily now, so maybe I get caught up, maybe I don't, but I like being at least maybe a week behind. But I don't want to be too far behind because I want you to know like what the rates are doing and what I'm seeing. So I did 2 loads this week. I try to go over the loads I did, why I did those loads, how they've shaped out, how it worked out, how that freight lane is. Typically, you will see me go from Minnesota out 1,000 to 1,500 miles, turn it around, and come back. That's typically how I work it. Sometimes I stay out a little more if the money's better, but I'm typically not a run over here, run over there, run over here, like just, run the country. Like I typically just run certain lanes. So to talk about weekly recap, I put these numbers out. These numbers are in no way to brag. I just put out what I do and try to be as transparent as possible without giving away too much. I put out numbers last year during, so definitely not trying to brag with numbers. Freight's doing pretty good right now. Probably I don't know if we're still at the peak of what I seen a couple months ago, but it's definitely still really, really, really good. Probably the best freight market I've ever seen. Well, I know it is. I shouldn't say probably. It is. Even with fuel prices rising, we should be killing it right now. So, a few things about weekly recap. I am leased to an 80-20 split carrier. I do not talk about that carrier. There's a lot of 80-20 split carriers out there. There's some 85-15s or stuff like that. So, just find something that works for you. I like a local carrier. That way I can, if they got a facility there, I can park my truck there when I go home. Little things like that. So now that we've talked about that, at the end you will hear me say this is the money left to do what I have to do with. And what I do with that is, pay things like truck payment, trailer, insurance, maintenance, accounting, all those extra expenses. Whenever I say that's what I have left to do, what I have to do with, that's not just my money to take down to the jiggle hut and put it in a G-string. Just a little transparency there for the new guys. If you know somebody that might use this information, maybe share it with them. If you made it this far, hit the like button. If you can tolerate me for 3 minutes, you can probably tolerate me for 10. I'd hope. Subscribe if you're not a channel subscriber. I'd appreciate that. Think about it at least. A lot going on down in the description. Check that out. And now let's get to these numbers. Did 2 loads this week. This is the highs and the lows of trucking. Let me tell you. I always say, I got a video from about a month ago that said, not every load is a banger. Typically, this is how freight works. You go into an area and you get the money, or you come out of an area getting the money. You very rarely get it both ways. There has been some of that here lately, though, more than ever. Now, it seems like I do better out of like areas that typically aren't that good. Like I was a couple months ago coming out of like Eastern Pennsylvania doing really good. I pulled some decent freight rates out of Georgia, like Atlanta area here lately. But for the most part, you get it going in or you get it coming out. You don't get it both ways. I went to Florida. Yeah. Let me tell you a little something about Florida freight rates right now. Let me sum it up. I mean, it is what it is, I never get too bummed about one certain load, and I never get too hyped about a certain load because I know how things work. I've made it into this game this far. First load, so I started my week in Kansas City. Instead of going home from Kansas City, I decided to stay out another week and make some more money. I was in Kansas City on a Friday. Oh my goodness, was it some tasty jams coming out of Kansas City. Posted the truck on the load board, got a lot of good calls. Like, got a call probably within 40 seconds. Like, they was needing some trucks over there. So, I decided to take this load to Florida. Now, I knew getting a rate like this, because this was like an amazing rate. I did a load. It was 28,000 pounds. It weighed 20 degrees. It weighed 20 degrees. What am I talking about? It weighed 28,000 pounds. It was a 20-degree frozen food load. And I had 167 miles of deadhead up there to get that, because this load actually came out of Iowa. So I was in Kansas City. I went up to Iowa, 167 deadhead miles. 1416 on the loaded. She was a one pick, two drop. So I had one stop north of Atlanta, and then the other stop went down to Cocoa, Florida. So that load was a really good load in my opinion, because more than half the weight came off at the first stop. So that left me 500 miles with 10,000 pounds in the box. I factor all that stuff in and considering a load a good load or maybe not a good load. But that load paid $7,500 cab. That's almost $5. That's over $5 a mile, loaded miles. I didn't do the numbers on it, but it's probably like 450-ish, probably even with the 10%, 11-12% deadhead. It's probably still like 450-ish all miles. She's a banger. But I knew taking that load, Florida rates are garbage. So, I knew I was going to pay out some of that $7,500 to get out of Florida and probably lose a day. And I'd already had my next load booked in Georgia, 500 miles away, deadhead on this second load. It weighed 39,000 pounds, another 20-degree frozen load. So the reefer's been set at 20 degrees start and stop all week. It's been cool at night, which is, the reefer's barely ran at night. It's winning. That load went from North Georgia up here to Minnesota, which, is always a good thing to get back to home. That load, not so good. That first one was the highs, $5 a mile on a 1,500 mile run. And this one is the lows. That load, 525 deadhead miles on that. Woo! 1173 on the loaded miles. Boy, the broker got me on that one. I did not do due diligence on that load. I took it. I said, they sent me a thing that said, it's like 1,000 miles basically. And I was like, okay, let's say in broker talk, that's 1,050 in reality. No. It was 1173 in reality. So I don't understand how they thought it was going to be 1020, I think is what they wrote on the rate con, was 1,020 miles. A crow with a string guiding it couldn't have flew 1,020 miles to get that here. I looked on every possible route ever, and I could not find anything even close to that. I took a realistic route, and it was 1173 total miles, 1698 a mile. 1698. That load paid a whopping $2,600. That's reality for you right there. It just is. If you get $5 a mile going to Florida, you're probably going to get $1 a mile out. I did not pull out of Florida. There were some loads out of Florida for back to Minnesota for $2,000. We're talking 1,600 miles straight line. Now this load took me a little bit out of route, so that's why it's 1,700 miles. But let's just say, it's probably 1,600 miles from Cocoa, Florida back to Minneapolis. Yeah, I'm not pulling, I said I can go to Atlanta and get loads for $2,500 back. Why not deadhead 500 miles and make $500 more dollars? I'm going to drive those miles anyway, you know what I mean? The deadhead is on the way back. It's not like I'm deadheading the wrong direction for 500 miles. I'm working my way back and making an extra $500. So that's what I did. Florida can keep their rates and their freight right now, as far as I'm concerned. But hey, we know that's what it is. We know that's what it is. So I'm not complaining about it. I'm just telling you how it is. That's how it is. When you get $5 a mile to go into Florida, you may get $1 a mile out. You know, it's just the way it is. So, you know, that's like $1.60 a mile, maybe, something like that. It's not good, but it is what it is. You know, I factored it. I think of it as accumulative as a week, not every load individually. You know, it's like, how does that load set me up for another load? You know, I factor some of that in. So overall, a busy week, and that load back to Minnesota, one pick, one drop. So, you know, after doing all these multi-stops the last few weeks, it's nice to get a 1-and-1, honestly. I mean, I don't mind the multi-stop, but the logistics and trying to figure everything out, it is nice just to go bump, type it in my GPS. You know, like, it's a route I do all the time. Georgia is, you know, Florida, Georgia, back to Minnesota, or back and forth. That's a lane I do a lot, so I really don't need, you know, the GPS or an atlas. It's nice, you know, not to have to do the logistics and work out everything. So let's talk final numbers for the week. So that second load was $2,600. I can't remember if I said that or not. Total gross for the week, $10,100. So see, even pulling that horrible freight out of Florida, I still had a decent week. It's all about the, you know, it's all about the week, or maybe sometimes you even have a bad week. You know, maybe sometimes it's about the month, it's about the year. You know, it's business. It's not all going to be ups in business. You're going to have to ride the roller coaster a little bit. If you can't stomach that, you know, maybe don't start a business, because I've never seen a business that didn't have it. You know, unless you're in bed with the government, it pretty much, you're going to have some ups and downs. So anyway, let's get to it. Gross revenue for the week, $10,100. I'm on an 80-20 split, so my 80% of $10,100 is $8,000, $8,080. There we go. I learned to talk one of these days. Let's talk all miles. 3,281. That's a little bit more miles than I typically like to run, especially during a good freight market. But I'll do it if I can gross 10,000 a week. I'll run 3,300 miles. You know, just the way it is. Just the way it is. You know, and honestly, to talk a little bit more about, you know, freight lanes and all, I could have did better. You know, I had plans. I wanted to get home. Now, I would have put those plans off if I couldn't have worked the freight to make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of running a business, sacrifice. But I said, you know, I could have took a load out of Georgia up the East Coast, you know, New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland. Some of those lanes were actually paying like kind of what back to Minnesota was paying. But, you know, I could come back to Minnesota, and that's where my good paying freight is. So to me, the sooner I get back to Minnesota without losing my shorts, I'm okay with it. 3,281 all miles. That is 308 all miles. So see, it all averages out for the week. You know, yeah, I pulled $160 out of Florida, but I still ended up at 308 all miles. So I can be very profitable at 308 all miles. You know, if 308, you know, doesn't work for you, then, you know, you would have had to do something different. But for me, 308 does work. Here's the key to those miles. 692 empty miles. So I had 21% deadhead this week. So I'm really happy at 308 a mile, because 1 in 5 miles I ran was empty. So I got great fuel economy. I mean, I started the week out, I don't know, I'm probably a little bit better on fuel than I started the week out. Not a lot, but I'm almost full right now. I did stop and fill up a couple 100 miles ago. So, you know, I got good fuel economy this week. But anyway, 308 all miles, 246 is my 80%, and it's $3.90 a loaded mile. So You know, we're right in line with averages right now at $3.90. So I can live with that. I can live with that. I've spent, now here's the variable cost. I'll put some numbers up here for you. $15.36 I spent on diesel. Bought that fuel with Mudflap. If you don't have Mudflap, check it out. I got community posts about it. If you buy your own fuel, check it out. It's very simple. I got videos explaining how it works, so go check those out if you want to know more. I spent $65 on reefer fuel. Oh, these cool nights and that start and stop are a beautiful thing. I mean, that thing hardly ever kicks on. $31 in def. No scales. I didn't scale either one of those loads. $15 on parking. $16.47 total variable cost. And we bring over my $8,080. We subtract the $16.47, and that leaves me $6,433 left to do what I have to do with. Now, I don't factor in truck, trailer, maintenance, accounting, and all that. All that is something you would have to add on to my numbers if you're trying to get a business plan together and using my numbers. I don't think you should use my numbers solely. You should use other people that put out reputable numbers and kind of get a mix, you know, because, you know, that's a good way to do it. It's a good way to do it. Now, I just put out what I do. I have refined this for several years. So, you know, I'm starting to get the hang of this. Starting to get the hang of it. But I just want to put these out to help people. I hope it helps someone. I'm going to get off here. I've been rambling too long. Check out that description. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Thanks, everybody, for watching and tuning in all these videos. I appreciate it very much. Take care. Bye.